Open the agenda, find the link to the Zoom. Click on it to connect to the room. We sit and wait for the meeting to begin, and the names TJ starts calling. They ask us what we wanna comment on. We say general or multiple agenda item. Then we continue to wait for them to start up, and finally we are now recording pops up. The president talks and it's blah blah blah, but he mentions public comment. The time is now. They call on us to speak and we all slay. Everyone's so good with what they say. Sometimes it feels never ending, it's been so long, but to this day we're all so strong. We're so strong. We're so strong. We're so strong. We're so freaking strong, y'all. Click on it to connect to the room. We sit and wait for the meeting to begin. Then the names TJ starts calling.
What up, though? Welcome back to the weekly Sunday live stream where we're going to discuss the meetings and different tips and tricks to make it easier on you guys that want to call in, or those that are already calling in that want to step their game up a little bit. I'm going to try doing this one without the camera, I think, because I mean there's no point of having the camera. I don't really go on camera. I smoke like a freaking chimney. I'm not trying to be all smoking in the screen, so treat this as a podcast. Open it up in a different tab, listen to it, do something else while you're listening, whatever. But let's see how this goes with the camera just off. So I want to focus on the multiple agenda items today. And I also want to focus on, how do you fit everything into a minute when you only have a minute? Or what are some tips that you can do if you are, like thinking about a zillion things at once and the words are just coming out? I don't know. I'm doing this right now. Like, I'm having the same issue. It's hard to do public speaking, and I am not the best at it. I'm trying to improve my public speaking, and I might not have all the answers. I really don't think I do have all the answers, but I would like to share what I'm learning, and maybe it can help you guys. I really wish that I had a computer, because then I could bring up different things. I could show you visually, like how to look at the agenda, but I don't have a computer, so you just got to deal with how it is. I guess the thing I'll start off with is the multiple agenda items. So when you call into the meeting, you have two options when you're calling into Public Works. They ask you if you're going to speak for public comment or if you want multiple agenda items. I guess technically you have three, because you can do a single agenda item as well. But single agenda item's not really that important. So when you call in on Zoom and they ask you, you will tell them, I would like to do general public comment and multiple agenda items. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, because the multiple agenda item part, they call you out on being off topic. They want you to stick to what the actual agenda item is. So, like I said, this would be easier if I had a visual to show you. But I'm pulling up the agenda for Monday's meeting. Okay, so this information right here would be relevant to the meeting tomorrow at Public Works. So, and these links usually If you are in Audit's stream or Fat Grammy's stream, someone will usually post the link to call on the Zoom, or they'll have a link to the agenda if you need it. The agenda at the beginning of the agenda is kind of, like just repetitive, boring stuff that you get on all the agendas, where it's telling you, about the public comments and just doing all the formalities, putting all the formalities that they need in there. So, okay, tomorrow is March 17th. So the meeting is at 10 a.m. and that's California time. I know that Eastern Standard Time, that would be 1 p.m. And I'm scrolling through. Okay, so the agenda items for tomorrow, it seems like there's 3 of them. Okay, the first one is Stop Notice, American Landscape Incorporated. And it says American Landscape is transmitting a stop notice in the amount of $756,318.61 for labor and or furnished materials for a work of improvement for Mothers in Action and heir apparent subcontractor in connection with the Destination Crenshaw Storm Drain relocation. Okay, so for me, I have no clue how you would tie that into anything that concerns us that we would want to bring up. But whenever I see a dollar amount, I try to think about how I can just switch that to, do you know how you could get the money? You could get the money by collecting the fines and fees for those planters that were there for months. Or you could do metered parking and you could get money to do these things. But I'll be real with you. I do not know what transmitting a stop notice means. I don't know if they're stopping payment or whatever. So, as someone that calls in all the time, I'm weary about speaking on number 1 because I don't understand it. Number 2 says Bureau of Engineering, revised task for solicitation, number 57, Brooks and Scarpa Architects. So it says authorize the city engineer to issue a revision of the task for task order solicitation to Brooks and Scarpa Architects, increasing the budget authority from $2,200,000 to $2,500,000 for additional design contingency for the ice hockey, ice skating, roller rink facility project. With something like that, that's an easier one for me to think of something. If you notice, they already authorized $2,200,000 for this, but they're asking for $300,000 more. So I would think of ways that they could get $300,000, and I would use that to speak on item number 2. And I would say, a good way to get that money is collect those fines and fees. A good way to get that money would be to get metered parking. Like Bureau of Engineering, since it's technically Bureau of Engineering, there's other things that you could bring up, I guess. But I think the easiest tip for someone trying to get the multiple agenda items for the first time is jump on number 2 and how they're asking for an additional $300,000. That is a lot of money. And then relate how they could get it by collecting the money from Scientology. Number 3 on the agenda for tomorrow Public Works meeting is contract renewal. First year contract renewal option for landscape maintenance of median islands. Okay, so this one's saying exercise the city's first year option to renew the subject contract with Far East Landscape for $701,695 $6,000.78. The second part of it says, instruct the executive officer of the board to immediately advise Far East to submit their bonds and insurance documents within 5 working days. And then instruct the executive officer of the board to immediately advise Far East that work on this project must start with 5 working days, within 5 working days from the date of issuance. This one sounds like another hard one to try to tie into things, but I feel that there's got to be a way to, they're talking about medians and landscape maintenance. So maybe there's a way, I don't know. Like these ones are really hard to tie in, but if you do the multiple agenda items, you get a minute per item. So if there's any way for you to bring those around, that would be 3 minutes that you can speak. And maybe you could speak on something kind of off topic until they tell you you're off topic. And then, like I said, if they call you off topic, throw out a random number. If you don't know what number applies to you, just throw out a random one. If they say, you're off topic, what item are you talking about? Like, item 1, or item 2, whatever. Or if you're able to have the agenda in front of you, it will stop you from being able to speak what you're saying, but it would still take their time. You can go through and say, I'm speaking about item 2, and then you just read off what it says. Revised task for solicitation number 57, Brooks and Scarpa Architects. And you just read through it word for word to take up the time that you are given for your comment. Some people think that it's only important to speak if you can connect it to Scientology and what's going on there. I'm of the belief, though, that, taking time is still worth it. I touch on things sometimes that don't have anything to do with Scientology just so that I'm able to take another minute of comment from them. And then if you only do one item, you're supposed to have the opportunity to listen to them present the idea first. But I feel by the time they get to the actual agenda items, I am really bored. Like I feel like I enjoy listening to these meetings. I'm into like the boring stuff like that, but they just drag on and on. And by the time it gets to the one you want to talk about, you could have been sitting there for like an hour just waiting. So you also have the option, if you're going to just speak on one item, to speak about it at the multiple agenda portion. So you don't have to technically have multiple agenda items. You could speak on just one. The pros of speaking before you hear the presentation are you don't have to wait through all of that boring, dragging on nonsense. And then also, if you don't have all the information, sometimes you can tie items to the Scientology stuff without having to do too many like gymnastics to get there. Like the other day when they were talking about on the agenda, it just said that it had something to do with streets. They did not put on the agenda what specific street it was or anything about what the context was. So we had the freedom to talk about any street. But if you wait till they have the presentation and then they explain specifically what that item is, they have more of a reason to call you off topic. Amy, what's up? Um, but yeah, so like if you're doing one comment, in the past, when they were changing the rules, I had spoke out about how they have us speak before the presentation and how I didn't like that, but that was just to sort of be a little annoying towards them and, against them with what they were trying to do. I absolutely do not like the rule change as far as giving us less time, but to me, it does make sense to speak before the presentation because you can act ignorant to what the topic is about and you can tie more things in. Um, is there anything else about multiple agenda items? Oh, another tip about multiple agenda items. If you have no clue what to say at all, but you still want to call for multiple agenda items, try to get in line after some of the people that are more confident with it. They sort of do the lineup before the meeting even starts. The meetings are usually at 10 a.m. local time, and about 10 to 10 is when they start asking, what do you want to speak on? Are you going to do public comment or multiple agenda items? So when they do that, wait to raise your hand until you hear them, like write down Audit's name or Mona's name or Yvonne's name. Like Yvonne and Audit are good people to go after when you aren't so confident in what you're going to say. And that's not just with multiple agenda items, that's with the general comment too. If you are really struggling, pick where you're going to be in the lineup. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Like, that's really one of the biggest tips. There's so many times where I was lost and I didn't know what to say, but I signed up anyways and I was after Audit and I just took stuff from what she said or what Yvonne said. And it's always good to go through and say, like, I agree with what Audit said, or what Yvonne said about this is really important, and I hope that you guys heard it, or I want to speak more on what Amy said. Mary, what's up? So, yeah, like echoing, or not really echoing, I guess it's kind of echoing, but bringing up the previous speakers and mentioning your agreement for them, for their comments, or adding on to the comments they made is always a good thing. And if you don't know what to say, it can give you inspiration from, what they said. You just repeat it, say the same thing. Um, like the lineup is important too because they only allow 10 minutes to speak. So that's not just the people on Zoom, but that's the people that show up in person. Now, without counting Audit, because sometimes she's in person, sometimes she's on Zoom, there's there's regular people that show up in person regularly. And that would be like Goat Puppet and F Bomb Guy and Shirt Guy. So there's 3 people right there. So that means if the 3 of them show up to speak in person, there's only possibly 7 of us that can get added. So while I'm saying pick your spot in line, make sure you don't procrastinate too much and you get in there before there's, 10 minutes worth of people signed up already. And hold on, I'm going to put that on screen. Um, yes, Amy, Amy says, I asked MD Media to ask the hospital employees what they think if LRH Way were to permanently close. I think that's very important. Getting the community, the neighborhood, and the people that are going to be involved with this, like that's important. And a lot of people there might be oblivious to the fact that they want to do a street vacation. So yes, getting the community involved and asking them questions, even just, asking a question can spark a lot of thought in a person, and then they can go to the water cooler, talk to someone else about it, and it'll spread. And then that next person will think about it. Yeah, so if there's a 3 regular people coming in, and then, Matt, MD, he shows up sometimes in person. So if you see like 4 people there in person, then you got to hurry up and make sure you're in line. And there's a lot of people calling at this point where we have run out of time, and President Corson has the discretion to keep it open and to extend that 10 minutes. But he has proven time after time that he does not keep it open. He tends to just want to cover himself, and make sure he's doing what he legally has to do. And so he'll like ask the city attorney, do I have to keep it going? And then they'll say, no, it's your discretion. And then he's like, okay, well, I choose to close it. So pay attention, sort of count the people as you're waiting in the lineup, or as you're waiting to get in the lineup, sort of count them. And if you can see on one of the streams, like Fat Grammys or Audit's stream, like if you can see how many people are there in person that are speaking, factor that in too. There were a few times where I didn't get to speak because there were so many people calling in. Also, if you are able to, make sure that, after the in-person speakers, if as far as the callers go, if we get all people in line right away to speak on what we want to speak about, then that prevents people that are trying to disrupt and distract and bring other stuff into the meetings. It stops them from being able to get in line. So there's a lot that has to do with lining up. And yeah, like Amy is saying, the LAPD meeting is very hard to get into. They tend to focus more on the people that are there in person. Sometimes they do extend the time for public speaking on the police commission, but they don't extend it for the Zoom people. They just extend it for people who have showed up in person. The last few times that I was calling in, I did not get picked, and I think there was maybe only 2 people on the Zoom that were able to get in on the police commission. So that's why I focus more on the public works, because I know that I'll have a chance to speak at that one. And usually, like Audit's there at the police commission in person, and she's a very strong speaker on her own with that. And at least we're getting who I believe is the best one to say something. So at least we'll get her. And then they seem to call Mona a lot too on the Zoom for the commission meeting. And what's up, D? Lord Bynum, Irish, welcome in. There is some stuff that you missed if you're just tuning in, but you can catch that on the replay, watch 2 times speed. Chances are I'm gonna sort of sum things up. So I don't know. I don't know if you want to go back and watch it from the beginning, whatever, up to you. Kirby's, what's up? So, what was I going to say? So, yeah, we talked about how choosing where you are in the line is important. I kind of skipped over the fact that making sure to raise your hand is important. Now, that doesn't mean like physically raise your hand. On Zoom, there's a little button that's shaped like a hand and it says raise hand. Make sure that you click that as soon as you join the Zoom for the meeting. That is how they're going to know that you want to speak. But I guess, like I said, if you're waiting to be behind someone, as soon as you hear them say Audit's name or Mona's name or one of the other strong speakers' names, then go ahead and raise your hand. So you know that you're in there, but you're behind someone that's maybe going to help you out and inspire you with what to say. Like I can't stress how important that's been for me. That's made me a stronger speaker by going after Audit speaks, going after Mona speaks, going after Yvonne speaks, going after Henry speaks. Like a lot of these people, they inspire me to say stuff that I wasn't even thinking of, or they know how to word it. And it's good to show that people are on the same page. So, say, I agree with what Audit was saying about this, or, when Audit was speaking about this, it made me think of this. Or, I don't know, like just callbacks, I guess is what you would call it. So, okay, we talked about how important it is to make sure you get the right spot in line that works for you. But now let's talk about, I don't know, what should we go to next? About what topics we can bring up now that are current. With those planters gone, it seems like there's a whole lot that's missing from what we can talk about. But I don't think that we need to stop talking about the planters. I don't think we should stop talking about those planters. I worry that there's a chance that they're going to just let Scientology get away with what they did with those planters. I got a feeling they're going to just try to let it, fade away. We'll lose our attention about it and then nothing will happen. I feel it's important to stress that they do follow through and continue to do litigation or whatever against Scientology for those planters. The documentation that I have says that there was a citation on July 19th for those. There could have been an earlier citation. I do not know. But July 19th till when they finally removed the planters is a long period of time. Now, as it stands, I believe that the fines would be a one-time fee and not a daily fee. But it might be good to do the math and figure out how many days they were there and explain to the commission how much money they could get if it was on a daily basis. And there's ways to do the math to where they could get millions from Scientology based on that. But regardless of what route you go with that, I would not stop talking about those planters. Do not let them just sweep them under the rug and, they're gone, so it doesn't matter. No, it's not that they're gone. They were there for several months. They not only were they, not ADA compliant, but the reason they were there was to stop people from protesting. Those planters violated the rights of people who wanted to protest. And there should be some type of consequence for what they did. So that's one of the big topics to keep bringing up. Now, obviously, the main thing that is still actively happening is they are trying to get a street vacation. Now, again, I'm aware of what a street vacation is, but I do not know all the technicalities. But a street vacation has to do with them trying to make a public road into a private road. And I've seen some documentation where there's been some pushback from people in the city, or at least people in the city have said, they don't think that's going to be able to happen and whatnot. But the street vacation is a very big topic, and it's very important to talk about. You should always try to, Adrian, what's up? You should try to talk about the impact that it will have to the locals there. Like, there's reasons why we don't want that street closed, because people should have the right to film on that street. They should have the right to keep an eye on things, to protest. Those rights shouldn't be taken away. But think about the locals and why it is a bad idea for the locals. Okay, because this is a city meeting. So the areas I would go is point out that there are multiple hospitals in that area, and that if you close that street, as we've seen when they have their multiple special event permits going on and they close the street, traffic has to go somewhere else. So that makes traffic busier on these side streets that are just a block or two over. So it increases the traffic on these streets where there's houses. And, imagine people have kids living on these streets, a couple streets down. It's less safe for their kids when L. Ron Hubbard Way is closed, because more people are driving down their street. Like, that doesn't seem like it's really a issue tied to Scientology, whatever, but it's a local issue with what would happen if the street was closed. And Amy has been suggesting that MD should maybe talk to some of the people from the hospital. And I think that's a really good idea, because that road being closed, it impacts the hospital. And we saw the other day, Matt was out there and they were doing a delivery of, I don't know, was it oxygen or some type of gas? But they were doing the delivery and the truck was on L. Ron Hubbard Way. And it's crazy seeing that. That does not look safe to me. Like, one spark and they could blow up. That's scary to me. I didn't know that they delivered gas that way. Liquid oxygen, yes. But if they have to do it in that location, how would they refill their liquid oxygen if that road was private and, Scientology owned that street? How would they, like, would the hospital have to like remodel and change things so that they'd be able to fill it from a different location? So these are things you got to look at. How can these things affect people personally in ways that might not affect me or you or whatever? Joe, welcome in. So yeah, like, mention stuff about how the street vacation impacts the local community. And then also sprinkle in stuff about how, there's people out there trying to document the abuses, and that's why they're trying to close the street, so that things can be even more secretive. If you want to go deeper into the street vacation thing, you can mention Bill Delvick, who is their lawyer that they hired, who is supposed to be lobbying for them to have a street vacation. So he's the one sort of doing the safe pointing and stuff like that, and trying to um, get the city to be on their side with the street vacation. And if you want to go even farther, you know, look up street vacations and, you know, ask AI questions about street vacations and what are ways to prevent them. And AI is a very good tool. Amy, that would be awesome. Like, I would love that because I don't know if you guys know, but I'm not Nora. Like, people gave me that nickname when I was in LA. I guess we look alike because the hoodie and the hat and the glasses. But yeah, like having not Nora on Nora's show, that would be so badass. I respect Nora a lot. Like her stories, like from when she's in there, are so informative and have taught me a lot. I would love to have her on my show and be able to ask her questions. Like if I were able to interview Nora, I would ask her some stuff like, uh, what stories do you have about Janet Weiland? Is there anything that, we haven't heard publicly about her, but or is there anything that you know about your time at Blue, like that's changed? Have they done construction on the outside that that's different? Or like, what are the differences that you see on the outside? There's just a bunch of tiny little minuscule questions, but I'd have a lot to talk to her about. Um, but yeah, so topics to talk about tomorrow at Public Works: the street vacation, and like I said, don't forget about the planters. Now, the third one that I want to bring up is that crack. I don't know what you would call that, the smokestack. I don't know if someone has a better descriptor for the name of what that is, but where the crack is. Or I should clarify, there are multiple cracks in my opinion. It's not a crack, but um the steeple looking thing. It's not a real church though, so I don't want to call it a steeple. I don't know. But you know what I'm talking about. So I don't know how accurate my information is. I'm basing this on my memory, but I'm pretty sure the initial crack was painted over. Like, I think the part that was painted over was the initial crack. And then they put up that brace, that metal bar around it. And I noticed when MD was out there, he was zooming in on it. A silo, that might be a good word for it. Incinerator, yeah, there was like a crematorium or something. But I saw a crack that wasn't painted over, and it was right where they drilled in to put that structure, the brace on it. So in my mind, I'm wondering, is that a separate crack? There wasn't paint over that crack, and it lined up right with that bolt or screw or whatever you want to call it, whatever they drilled in, right where they drilled in, there's a crack above it and below it, right through it. And I think that they might have caused more damage and created a new crack when they put that structure on it for the brace. Um, I don't know for sure, but also I think that there are cracks on two different sides of it. Now, I'm not stating this as fact. I have to go back. I still haven't gone back, but tonight I'm going to go back and look at it. But when you're on Catalina and you're looking straight at it, on that side there's a crack. But I also think the side on the right, there's a crack as well. So there's multiple cracks. And if they tried to fix it and then caused another crack, can we really have confidence that they know what they're doing? If we know that sometimes they like to use the RPF or the RPF's RPF, to do these, construction things, how do we know that they're doing it in a safe manner? Um, there's, tons of earthquakes in California that can make it worse. But even without that, apparently them just drilling into it can cause an issue. Now, we've seen on MD's stream that they brought in those huge cherry pickers, I guess is what you would call them, but like the really heavy duty ones. So they're doing something with that. But what happens if that falls down? And with the height of it, if that falls down, how far away from that area could it cause damage or fall and possibly hurt someone or kill someone? Like, the city needs to, in my opinion, have inspectors regularly checking on what's going on there. Even if they have contractors and the contractors are legit that are doing it, it needs to have eyes on it, and they should at least do an inspection or two. And yes, Penn Hall, I'm sure they know how to pull permits and do all that stuff. But what we've seen with Scientology, we don't know. And Penn Hall might just be responsible for part of it, and then they're going to do the rest of it on their own. We don't know. But I think it's important to bring up the crack and how there's multiple cracks possibly now. So that's the third thing. Um, Last I checked, I think all the rose bushes are gone, but I saw the rose bushes next to the empty hole still. So I don't know anything after that. Um, but if there are any open holes still from those rose bushes, that's a safety hazard that's on public property on the easement. And if someone, might have partied a bit too hard at Sappy's and they're, tipsy, they're drunk, and they're walking, they could easily break an ankle walking on that easement and not know that there's a hole there that is deep enough to do a lot of damage if you step in it. Um, yeah, and Matt, I really appreciate when you go on the mornings right before the meetings, because that's giving people a view that's super current so they can sort of update what they're saying based on the views that we get from you. Um, yeah, so rose bushes. There's something else that I wanted to bring up that no one's really talking about, but I forget what it is. So so it definitely needs to be brought up, but I don't know. I'm getting so like saturated, oversaturated with information about these meetings and all the stuff involved in the meetings that I have like no more room for a lot of information. We talked about the planners. Oh, the permits. People are talking about that. That's not what I was talking about. Yes, the parking signs. But let's go to the permits. The special event permits. It seems like they chilled, that down. Like they calmed down with asking for them all the time. But maybe it's because the city sort of changed how they're doing permits. But when they have special permits, they're supposed to be informing the neighborhood that there's a special event going on. And they're supposed to distribute flyers or something and telling the neighbors within a certain radius how long the road is going to be closed. I have never seen anyone find one of these flyers anywhere. Now, they might be mailing them. I don't know. But if they are not informing the neighbors, then they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we can point that out. And then Audit was also saying, she wanted some clips. If you have clips of them with a DJ when they weren't supposed to have music or anything like that. She was looking for clips for that. But if you look at the amount of permits they had lately, they have calmed down with that. But let's not forget about that. That's still a situation, and that's still something to bring up, and bring up how it's not fair that they get permits so easily when they keep breaking the rules. What fines are Scientology paying for all of this? As far as I know, Scientology isn't paying fines. And that's the messed up part about it. Um, I don't know. I've seen permits where they they don't even they don't even pay the full permit price. Um, in my opinion, the best person to get permit information from is Super Cool. Sue, she's really good with getting the information. Um, she has all the answers about that. So I try to, just get a little bit of info from her stuff and let her do the deep diving on that. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of the stuff she found, they aren't paying the full permit price. And yes, that email that Audit got was fishy. And supposedly that's gonna be next weekend, supposedly. But I I think it's totally a setup. So okay, the signs. That's what I wanted to bring up. The Not just the signs that say no parking, but the signs that say parishioner parking only and stuff like that. Those signs are brought up in that 71-page CASP inspection report that Audit posted. That 71-page report, who I got to keep pointing out, Kirby's mom, she made that happen. Like, give her credit for that. Kirby's mom was amazing with that. Audit was amazing with it. That report right there, that inspection, means so much. And if you, Kirby's, can you put Super Cool's name or at or link or something in there for Mary? Um, but yeah, if dang, I'm so stoned, I'm like losing track of where I was. But yeah, if you look up in the report, you'll see multiple findings about the signs. And they don't just point out the no parking signs, but they point out that parishioner parking only sign. So if you want stuff to say and you want facts to back it up, look into that inspection report. It will give you very legitimate facts where it even tells you, like measurements and stuff. And it'll tell you what they found and what was wrong with it. And when we're talking about parking signs, let's not forget that there's no proof so far that we've been able to find that says that there's legitimate no parking on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Um, there's multiple people that have been trying to call different departments, talk to every different department that could have an answer. And no one in the city so far can prove that there's no parking there. There's been accusations through the years that at different locations across the country that Scientology will just go out there with red paint and just paint their curbs. I have no proof on that, but that allegation sounds like it's a possibility with stuff that we've seen. So maybe touch on the fact that the no parking signs are not legit and that there should be parking. And you can tie things together like the street vacation with that. Like, instead of giving them the street vacation and closing it to the public, making it a private road, why don't we just give it to the public even more? and help the people at the hospital with their parking, help the neighbors with more parking, and put the metered parking in there. And with the parking and the meters, think of how much money in revenue that could make. Like if that whole road was just lined with parking meters, that could bring so much money to the city. And with Scientology being tax exempt, what are they like legitimately giving to the city? I mean, there could be money on the side they're giving them to pay off. I don't know how things are going, off paper with them, but as far as like them giving money to the city, like let's help the city out with the metered parking and get some money for the city that way so that that road, that street can be productive towards the city and the neighbors and the community. Um yeah, and notice how I'm jumping around from topic to topic. That's something that I do a lot, and I'm trying to improve on that, but that's a good segue to talk about when you're speaking your public comment and you have a zillion things to say, how can you organize them so that you stay on track? And like I said, I haven't found all the answers. I'm still trying with this, but I found when I take notes or when I write down like a script of what I'm going to say for my comment, I sound way more monotone as I speak. I can sound like a robot sometimes when I'm reading a script. So I tried to change and do, like bullet points, like just a brief note, like a keyword, like, okay, planters, permits, street vacation, and then I'll go through and as I'm doing each one, I'll have a pen as I'm speaking. I'll cross off each one on my list. Now, that helps me a little bit, but then I panic. I panic when I know I'm running out of time and I have so much more on the list still. So then I start rushing through it, and I I feel the way that I work best actually is when I just freestyle it. But at the same time, when I freestyle it, I miss stuff that's important to say. So, my advice with that and with staying on track, do what works for you. Everyone has their own different way of learning, and everyone has their own different way of speaking and public speaking. And, like, don't put the pressure on yourself. When I beat myself up about it, then I panic and I have anxiety the next time I'm going to speak. But if I just get in my, what I call my F it mode, my fuck it mode, I just, I say, fuck it, let's go, and then I just go for it and freestyle. Like, I try to block out the anxiety, is what I'm saying. I try to just push through it. I really would like to learn more tips about like public speaking. And I heard that there's this thing called Toastmasters. So if any of you know about Toastmasters, like, or if you don't and you want to look it up, that might be a good way to learn public speaking. But, I've been calling in for a long time. Um, I think I started maybe in October, maybe September, but I I've been calling in a long time and I still get nervous. Yes, Amy, yes. But my point my point with this whole thing is I get nervous too. I struggle with it too, but I find a way to just push through it. And sometimes you got to just do it, and it helps a lot. I'm going to reiterate, it helps a lot when you choose where you are in line. Now, specifically for someone like Matt, who's going to show up in person when he does it. It's hard to get a good place in line showing up in person, especially if you're there and audit isn't there. If audit's there, just make sure you put your card in after audit. But if the in-person speakers are only goat puppet and shirt guy and F-bomb guy, you're not going to have someone before you. So it can be a bit more intimidating because you're going to be the first person opening up the topic of Scientology. David, what's up? Good to see you. Um, yeah, that's a good point too. Beware of Toastmasters in some situations. Not all of them are attached to Scientology. Maybe the ones in Los Angeles are more so, and maybe near Clearwater, but Toastmasters is a good thing. It just a lot of places. Oh, I forgot. Lisa, what's up? Sorry, that did slip my mind, but I know Lisa's always there with David, and got to say hi to her. Haggis, what's up? Anyone else? I forgot. I'm sorry. I suck at listing names or saying hi to people. But yeah, like even if you've been doing this, I'm pretty sure that audit still gets nervous when she's at these meetings and she's speaking. And most of us would think that she's the strongest public speaker we have, and I'm sure she gets nervous too. But anything is better than nothing. And I have my days where I feel my comments were really weak and I'm disappointed in myself. But I would have been more disappointed in myself if I didn't try, so I at least try to call it. There's been times I wake up 5 minutes before the meeting, haven't been able to have my coffee yet, haven't been able to smoke yet. And for me, smoking helps me because I can just ramble on, but if I don't have that, I tend to struggle when it comes to speaking. But again, I just say, F it, let's go. And I try to just go for it. Um, that's funny. Just as I read what Amy says, I say, but yeah, like I had a class back in like high school or middle school, long time ago, where they were teaching us public speaking, and they the teacher pointed out ums and likes and and all that stuff. And that does kind of help. It trains you to not say them as often. Uh, anything else that I missed from like the public works meetings? See, I'm gonna say a lot, and I don't care. Like, I don't think it's as bad. I feel sometimes it's better when you're public speaking to actually have some type of filler instead of just having awkward silence while you think, um, sort of fills that silence. And see, I do it a lot, and I'm gonna be more conscientious of it because of Amy. Oh, but Haggis, I did. Not their very bad words, but if anyone missed it, there was a meeting a few weeks back. I forget when, but if you want to see it, Audit has it on her channel. It's called Ganja Treated Unfairly. And they, at the beginning, asked who wanted to speak, and I raised my hand, and they asked me if I wanted to do general or multiple. And I think I just said general, but she put down my name. They put down my name, and then they just skipped over me. They finished public comment without calling my name, and I was super frustrated. So I signed up to do the multiple agenda items, the ones where you have to stay on topic of what's on the agenda. And I knew nothing about what was on that agenda, but I was so frustrated and I was angry and offended that they skipped me. And I had some really good stuff to say, but I could not put that into the multiple agenda items because it didn't fit. So I was sort of inspired by something that I've seen and heard Goat Puppet do in the past. Now, I'm going to censor it down for this stream, but I basically said item number 1, F item number 1, item number 2, F item number 2, item number 3. We can't talk about item number 3 because you said that you're moving that to a different one, but F item number 3. And F you guys, F the commission, and it felt really good. I cannot lie. That felt so good to I said about like 50 F bombs, and I was inspired because Goat Puppet did that one time. He's done it multiple times, but I just learned that from him, and it felt really good. But I'm kind of embarrassed by it. I'm kind of embarrassed that I stooped to that level. Um, when I was younger, sometimes they would do field trips to City Hall, and I would not want there to be like a field trip or something, and then there's kids there in the audience that can hear me cussing them out. Like, I don't like that I did that. Was unacceptable to me, but I did that because I broke, so even someone that many people may consider strong at calling in, like me, can totally just lose it for a day. But yeah, it gets frustrating when they don't call you. Great grandma, what's up? Vegas Andrews, what's up? Getting a bunch of people in here that I don't think Vegas has been. Maybe you've been in my stream before, but I see you guys around in the other chats and seeing you guys pop in here. I know my camera's not on, but I smile each time I see your guys' names pop in here. Yes, and I did a song too. Um, but I didn't do it in a song. I did it more as a poem. But back when the planters were were there, I wrote a song about the planters, and uh I should know the songs to my own songs that I wrote, or the lyrics to the songs that I wrote. I don't remember what it was. And I can't play the music on here because it's weird, but okay, here it is. So I just took the lyrics and I spoke the lyrics as one of the comments. It says, "We've been waiting for months, but the planners still stand on the easement blocking the way. It's getting out of hand. City said move them, but they're still in place. Time to act now. This is such a disgrace. Public Works, what's the deal? What's the delay? We've been asking for months. It's time to make way. A lawsuit's coming, and you can bet that's true. What's it going to take for y'all to follow through? Get these planners moved, clear the easement today. You gave the orders, now don't delay. It's been long enough. We're tired of the talk. Get them out of here. Stop blocking the walk." And I I wish I could have played the actual song for them, but if you're on Zoom, most microphones will block out that background music. They'll allow stuff that's like just a voice in the background, but if you have the idea to play an actual song, figure it out before you call in, because there's a chance that it might just sound like silence when you call in. They might not hear it. I feel creative too. Be creative and Colin, go ahead and if you want to, go ahead and I'll post my lyrics for this. Well, this doesn't even apply, but I'll I'll give you permission if you want to listen to something that I've said as a comment the previous week and you want to just copy word for word what I said, go for it. Use my comment. If you're too nervous, but okay, if you're too nervous, but you still want to, take the time to do a comment, recycle one of my older comments if it sounds like it still applies. I was gonna say use the lyrics to that song, but the planters are gone, so I guess that's not relevant. But just because the planters are gone doesn't mean they should be forgotten. It would be a real shame if they did not have to pay any fines. They've been there since since June. They were cited at least July 19th, maybe sooner. And there should be some type of punishment or enforcement for it. Just because they're gone, that doesn't solve the issue. Um, okay, so I think I said everything as far as public works goes. Now, I'm more of an expert on the public works meetings than the other meetings. I do watch the other meetings, but like with the police commission, I'm not able to get called on a lot. It's very hard to get called on police commission. I can open the Zoom as soon as it starts, raise my hand that second, and still not get called. But it's always good to try. I haven't given up. For weeks in a row, I still call in without getting picked. And it is disappointing when you come up with something good to say and you want to speak on something and you don't get called. Like that that meeting that a lot of people see as a bad meeting that happened at the police commission where all of those strong personalities showed up. I wanted to speak at that meeting before I even knew who all was going to be there. I wanted to speak at that meeting because the previous meeting is where DOA had spoke about how, he was getting swatted and, his phones, and he was talking about all this stuff, and they sent inspector general out to talk to him right after that meeting. And then what happened after that? He went to L. Ron Hubbard Way and he got swatted. And I don't know about you guys, but that swatting seemed different than the others. It seemed more intense. Um, it it just felt different. It was a different tone. Okay, David, there is someone named Missing in Scientology. I don't have their at Kirby's. Maybe you can find that. But usually on Sundays they post a link, or not just a link, they post a list of all the upcoming meetings and important dates. They also have court dates listed on it, and they'll let you know what's going on. Um, but yeah, like there's a lot going on, and Public Works is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. California time. police commission and fire commissions are on Tuesdays. And I think those are earlier, possibly at 9. And yeah, like I said, the police commission's hard to call in. And I had a bunch to say about that swatting. And the next week after that, the police commission meeting was canceled. And then I went to the next one and tried to get in on the Zoom, and they did not call me. But I wanted to speak on that swatting. I wanted to speak on how it was weird with the timing of him talking to the inspector general. And then all of a sudden the swatting happens and it has a different tone to it. And oh yeah, fire is only in-person comment. Um, but yeah, like the the commission, they focus on the in-person people more so, and maybe get 2 people on Zoom. So I had something that I felt was really important to me. I really wanted to speak up for DOA about what happened with that swatting, how the timing of it and everything, but they didn't call me. And also, as that meeting progressed, there's more that came to mind that I wanted to say. So I don't know. Maybe it's a blessing I didn't get called, because I was thinking I was gonna say some petty stuff that probably wouldn't have looked good. And so I didn't get called. So that's probably, I don't know. But the police commission, it's hard to get called, but it's very relevant for stuff that's going on with DOA specifically and others. But if you're someone that, has been following DOA, I don't want to say, you're on DOA's side or whatever, because this isn't a side thing. Even if you aren't a fan of DOA as a person, the situation with what's going on with him, it affects everyone that is going against Scientology. But if you're someone that you're more into speaking on DOA's situation rather than planters and street closures and whatever, the police commission is the place to bring that up. Uh, you got to get lucky or be in person mainly. I think that Gomez got transferred before that. There was a meeting a few weeks before where I was able to talk. And I know that I had brought up Detective Gomez, and I brought up the Northeast Division and how they seem to be doing stuff biased in Scientology's favor, and that I didn't think that was right, and that they should look into these people, specifically Detective Gomez. And I asked that they put someone else on DOA's case besides Detective Gomez. And it seems like after that call, and it wasn't just me, there were other people in that same meeting that shared the same sentiment. But after that call, I think is when they switched it up and they moved Gomez. No, it was before that. She got switched before that, I think. Um okay. This is good news. Or not good news, good information to have. So, if do you have it pulled up, Lord Bynum? Does it say when that's valid or anything about what what they're allowed to do? And I've been used to having like such low viewership that I can ramble on without reading all this chat. So I'm sorry. I'm going to go back. I'm looking through seeing if I missed anything. Okay, so if you want to start off, there are ways to, if you if you get the missing in Scientology posts that I'm talking about, they have a link to a calendar underneath it. And when you click the time on the calendar, they've started including the agenda for certain meetings on there. And for some reason, I feel like David B would probably be more interested in the police commissions, but if you want to call the public works meetings, I know for sure on that calendar they've been including the agendas for the public works on that one. Usually though, when Fat Grammy or Audit they're streaming it, someone in the chat will get you a link for the agenda or for the Zoom call. Um, okay, and yeah, like this is from when I was talking about how that swatting it seemed different. Um, yes, that report is super important for anyone that's just starting to, learn about this side of the protests. Like there's a really good CASP report, CASP report, and that's because of Kirby's mom and Audit. They they got that going. Um, there was a little bit of a confusion because Audit had asked for help with a secret project and she didn't want to put all the details because sometimes you don't want to put everything out there. You don't want to give them a heads up that that was about to happen. And people trusted her. And the next day, actually within a few hours, the money was raised and they were able to get that inspection. And there's 71 pages, which the information in the inspection report is good enough to use in court. So if you have not learned like what that CASP report is, CASP inspection is, go and look into that because that is a really good document with very specific things that are legitimately wrong. That's interesting. February 24th. I'm gonna screenshot that. I'm gonna go back and look at some streams and see what was going on there, or listen to the meetings and see if something that was said caused an inspection. Because what a lot of people don't understand, like a lot of people think these meetings are pointless, but we are getting a lot done. There's been several times that inspectors have been sent out there because of what we've been saying in the meetings. Like I I don't know. I gotta I, does anyone remember what February 24th was? The street vacation issue. Okay. So, my personal opinion, there's no reason that the city should be okay with wanting a street vacation. There's no benefit for the city. There's only negatives. The fact that there's hospitals in the way, and the fact that if you close that street, as it's been proven when they have the special events, when you close that street, it builds up more and more traffic on the streets that surround it. Um, there's even more to go into, but when I talk about street vacations, I like to bring up, instead of making it private and making a street vacation, why don't you think of what it can do for the city? Get metered parking. That'll help because the city always needs more parking. Metered parking brings in money for the city. Wouldn't it be nice if that street could bring money to the city instead of it being closed and causing an impact of bad traffic on surrounding areas? Think of the benefits of metered parking, you know? Forget about the privatization of it, make it more public. Um, building alter to remove. So I guess they're gonna remove the whole stat. I don't know. That there's multiple cracks in it. Um, Mary, thank you. Like I've noticed you in my stream last time. Like, thank you. I appreciate you and your kind words all the time. Uh, I probably am gonna do more of my other type of live streams where it's listening to the meetings and reacting to the comments. But yeah, like this one has a different vibe to it. So I don't know if you've been here for one of these, but trying to help out people that are brand new and haven't called in yet and just put out a lot of information. Um, let's see. I have too many people up in here. I can't. How do people like? How does Nora pay attention? Y'all probably like star stuff for her or something so that it's easier. Like I don't know how I'd be able to keep up with chat if I had viewers like Nora. Um, okay, good. So you got a more spec specified skill set. Okay. But yeah, like the tone I've been going with the street vacation is not only don't give them the street vacation, but let's as the public take that street back and help out the public more. Get more parking. Like even people that aren't from LA, you got to know how bad parking is in LA just from watching the streams. Seeing how many of our favorite streamers have to park in a red zone or a loading zone. Parking is very hard to get. And when you're talking to these government agencies, it's important to stress ways that can help get them money. Just gift wrap an idea for them. They don't even have to go through the thinking themselves. Just hand it right to them. Look, this can bring you so much money if you just have metered parking. Okay, yeah. I think that she probably has the paid version of StreamYard or whatever. I have the basic free thing. Yes, being so close to a hospital is important. And, review the footage from MD Media when they were doing the liquid oxygen delivery to Kaiser. They had to do it from L. Ron Hubbard Way. How would they be able to do that if that road was closed? Um, yes, keep the fastest route to the hospital ER open. Um, speaking about the police commission, and I wanted to bring up, I wanted to say, if you do happen to get in for the police commission, a little trick that I found is they give you 3 minutes, regardless of what you're talking on, basically. But you you could say, public comment and all items. But most times they don't even ask you what you want to speak on. They just give you the 3 minutes. But if they ask you, say all items, and they don't seem to call people out that often and say, what item are you on? You're off topic. Like, that's not a police commission thing. So if you do get picked from the Zoom to participate in the police commission, make the most of it and get your 3 minutes. And, like, as long as you're talking about something that has to do with policing, it it's on topic. When you call these meetings, it has to be in their like purview, in their jurisdiction. So you stick on the topic of something to do with police. And if you want to speak about DOA, there's a lot of situations you can bring up, whether it's the swattings or, like the unfair treatment or whatever. The police commission is the place to do it. And you get a lovely 3 minutes if you get called. Okay. The first consideration with a vacation request, the municipality must be able to show that the benefit to the request is greater than the benefit to the people within the municipality. So, pointing out that you could put parking there, metered parking. If someone could figure out, maybe if someone on the ground, MD, Which Share, Dan Walks, if someone who's there is able to count how many, like estimate how many parking meters could fit there, or even someone that's not there could just look at a map and figure out the distance and then figure out how big a parking spot is, figure out how many parking spots you could fit on each side of that road. Like, that would be a huge benefit to the neighborhood. And, if you could go a step farther, figure out how many hours through the day metered parking is a thing. Like, I know where I'm at, Sundays parking's free. Like, the meters don't matter. And middle of the night, they're free. So if you figure out how much time per week is the maximum, and then you multiply it by how many are there or could be there, add that together, whatever, point out that amount to the city that they could be making this much money per week, or do the math to do per month or per year, and point that out, because I feel like that's a good benefit, whereas closing the street is a negative. Yeah, and if someone like if MD could, talk and, like bring some of this up to the hospital or audits there, she could do that. Like, if someone local could sort of just let them know what's going on. They might not even know that there's a potential for a street vacation. Um, I don't know, because there's people that live on LRH that are not Scientologists, but I believe that they rent from Scientology. Um, when it comes to Scientology properties, there's different names that can pop up as the owner of the property. And it doesn't flat out say Scientology. But if you look into it and see building management services, that's Scientology. So maybe someone has the answer already, or if you want to look into it, look for building management services. So with the parking, what parking do they allow just in that parking lot on Sunset, I think. But maybe we could figure out how many people from the hospital are parking in that parking lot and then see if there's enough metered parking spots, for L. Ron Hubbard Way. And maybe it could balance out, though it would cost the people money for the meters. So that's kind of a negative, but it would help the city. Um, okay, so I don't know what one that is, but apparently there's one non-Sciento. It just at this point there's so much information. It's like my mind is oversaturated with all of this. Uh let's see. You're saying only one. So I believe these sources, they're saying only one. Um that's a good point. Yeah, cuz this has not been going on just like a year. This has been going on for decades. But yeah, like I don't know. It's it's a big factor, that it's mostly owned by Scientology. But I don't know. I think that the fact that it's it's a major street and there's hospitals, Children's Hospital and Kaiser there. I think that sort of counters that. Um yeah, they're trying to evict. I remember hearing on DOA's stream long ago, someone came up to him and said they lived there and they were trying to evict him. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. That was a while ago. Um, Also, if we're talking about talking with the hospitals, what about the people at the salon? Like I personally, I've spoken to the people at the salon in person before, and my main focus at that time was the planters. I asked them, you know, if they even wanted the planters there. They told me that they just popped up out of nowhere and they had no idea what happened, but that they knew it was Scientology, but they didn't want them there. I told them, you know, I don't see any like pretty plants in them even. It's just all dead weeds and they're so ugly. And then the next part of the conversation, they're talking about how it's preventing customers from getting to their salon because their customers, there's no parking. And we were talking about how like Scientology shuffles the cars around in that green Tacoma that is always in the loading zone. And all these things Scientology has been doing lately is impacting that salon. The people at the salon really wanted those planters gone, which I don't know. DOA is going through a charge on planter. Was that right in front of the salon? They didn't. The salon people. I was talking to the old guy there. Like he did not want those planters there, and him and the ladies they were complaining about how they can't park. Their customers can't park, and they just wish that you know things were back to normal. Yeah, I don't think they will publicly either. But if there was a street vacation, imagine how much worse it would impact that salon. That salon might end up going out of business if Scientology keeps playing these games. So eventually they might have to speak up. But I talked to those people, and they so did not want those planters there, and they did not have parking for their customers, and their customers had to park blocks and blocks away, and some of their customers just didn't want to do that. They didn't want to have to walk that far, so they just went somewhere else, and it was really affecting their business. And it's not just the salon, but what other businesses are there? You know, there's stores over there. There's party stores, liquor stores, whatever you want to call them. There's restaurants. And I wonder, what that restaurant over by Catalina, what they think of all this stuff. But a street vacation would definitely impact all of those local neighbors. And one of my main things that I always point out, get personal with your target audience. Okay? A lot of these businesses don't care about the Scientology angle, but they will care about how it impacts them. So you let them know how it will impact them personally. You get them to get involved by bringing up what's personal to them. All right, see you later, Joe. I don't think I'm going to go much longer with this one. Just want to stick around a little bit more for this, but probably going to end it soon. Um, that's the best angle. The hospitals, the hospitals, the hospitals. And like I said, counter it. Bring metered parking to L. Ron Hubbard Way. Get the city that money. And that's tailoring it to the audience. The city wants money. That's what they want. That's the benefit to them is money. So find a way to get them that money. The the main thing is to just, if you can't call in, spread the word. Like, if you're someone that just can't, no matter what, you can't call. There's time, restrictions, or you're just not a public speaker. You have anxiety, whatever. Then help out by spreading the word in other chats in the community. There's a lot of people in this community that don't know much about the meetings at all. They might have never heard about a street vacation. So spread the word, educate. Even that is doing a whole lot. The more people that know, the more help. The street behind Blue metered it all. When you say behind, what one are you talking about? Because it's like a square. If you're talking about the one-way Catalina, they do have some type of permit parking. Fountain has metered parking. Sunset has some metered parking. And then on the other side, I forget the name of that road. Is it the street that's on the other side is New Hampshire, maybe? And I think that's just regular neighborhood parking. The Rosebush. Okay, that's Catalina, the one-way street. Um, that's the street. If you've been around for a while and you remember the journalist Zach and his infamous ticket, that's where that happened. It was on Catalina. And apparently there is permit parking because that's why he got a ticket for it, because uh he's not permitted. But they gave Zach a ticket and he freaked out over it and flipped. It was crazy what happened after that. But I remember specifically from that there was permitted parking so that the neighbors, they can park there, but someone that's not from the neighborhood got a ticket. Um, let's see. Yeah, like I'm not in LA either, and I call in and you know, you got to figure out the time zones, but if you're watching the streams, you already know the time zone difference, and my life revolves around what time it is in LA, not where I'm at. Like I I'm more in LA time, but it for me it works out that I could not do a meeting that's like 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning, but noon or 1, that works for me. What did Lord Bynum? I'm curious how many through streets have been vacated in LA. I wouldn't think. I don't even know if there really is one. I don't know. Um, well, to be fair about it a little bit, okay? It's hard to get a street closure permit for that road or that street when Scientology owns the majority of the property. And there's so many people listed as living there that they can have all those people sign something saying that they agree with whatever Scientology's special event is. And those same people can disagree with any other permits that are coming in. So when Jessica was trying to get that permit, it was harder for her because she doesn't live on that block and she doesn't have all those names to have her back. So that's just going to be a thing right there as far as closing an actual street. But there is a way to do it. Um, yeah, and I wish I had it handy. There was in some of the CPRAs, there was discussion about the street vacation, and it was with people in CD13. Now, CD13 is Hugo's office, and that is like the area that Big Blue is in. So he is the councilman that represents CD13. So someone from his office was talking to, I think, the lawyer for Scientology. I think it was Bill Delvick. Now, those CPRAs sometimes have 300 pages in it, and a lot of it is repetitive because you're seeing emails where they're showing every single part of the conversation over and over with one new reply. And you scroll through, and there's so much that gets hidden because there's just so much in a lot of those CPRAs. But one of them, they were talking about the street vacation, and CD13, not Hugo, but someone that works for him, was kind of saying that they don't think it's going to be a thing, that they don't think it's a good idea. So I find hope with that, but like Audit pointed out, they might use DOA in his cases for a reason that they need the street closed. They might say that they're under siege and that for their safety and their protection, they need to close it. So it's important that no matter what side you're on, it's important to have DOA's back in this case. Even if you can't financially support, shoot, even if you don't want to publicly say something that you have support, you know, if you're a religious person, pray on it. You know, we need him to win. This impacts all of us. And if they try to prove that there's a safety issue, that protesters are doing things, like they could use that as a reason for a street vacation. Yeah, and I've been pointing out, like, think of the people that are just a few blocks away. If there was a street vacation, more traffic would go down these other streets. And imagine if these people have been living in these houses for a while and, their kids are growing up there and they have younger kids that are playing outside. It's making it more dangerous for those kids a few blocks down to close that street because there's going to be more traffic and more chances that someone could hit a kid driving down that street. Now, that's kind of hyperbolic how I'm saying it. It's like the chances of, a kid getting hit by a car, it's not the most likely thing to happen, but I like to bring up the possibilities of that could happen. But the main point is there's more traffic that's going to be on the other streets. Um, I, I don't know. Like I feel like that was kind of their reason to have the planners up, and I don't know. But as it stands right now, there has been no convictions of any of the protesters or activists being violent. There, there's no restraining orders that have been approved when Scientology's try to put them on people. At the same time, though, you gotta realize Scientology is a variable in this. Like, Scientology has power. In my opinion, they are colluding with different parts of the city and all these other, Thousand Streets. Scientology isn't a factor in that. Like, in my mind, Scientology is like this crime syndicate or whatever. Like, they're like I don't know, intertwined with different departments, and I don't know, but I think even if the the DOA factor is not as big with the street vacation, it's important to sort of like attack all angles of it. Anything that you can think of, you know? Whoops, I was trying to click Amy's. Uh, yeah, did anyone else notice that that one day DOA is practically saying he's done, and then boom, the planters start getting removed because they think that DOA is running and that he's not, not going to say anything about Scientology, not going to return there, nothing. So they take the planters away. That was weird. Yeah, and like the other day on MD's stream, they were getting the liquid oxygen delivery at Kaiser, and in order to do that, they had to have the truck on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Well, as someone that has been dealing with the commissioners for several months and several times a week, I've actually met the vice president, the president, the president pro tem, and TJ Knight, whatever his role is, from Public Works. And from what I know, in my opinion, they're just there collecting their checks. Like they pass things without really thinking about it much, and I don't know. Like I've seen there was a different set of commissioners there when we started. And because of us calling in, most of them lost their jobs. And that's why there's these new commissioners now. Because of us calling in. And I don't know what that means. Like the one lady that they let go of, Teresa Villegas, we were calling her out as being unfair because as vice president, sometimes she'd lead the meeting, and I don't know, she seemed to move the public comment to the end all the time and make things harder, and she never seemed to pay attention, you know. But then I found out in the CPRAs, she was trying to do a little bit to help get the planners gone and look into the permit thing. And then there was Commissioner Davis, and he was the president pro tem, and he was a really good guy, but he lost his job too. He used to pay attention to us a lot, and he would take notes. And then there was Reyes, and she paid attention to us a lot, and she lost her job. So it might be that when the commissioners are paying attention to us, they lose their job. So maybe that's why sometimes they don't pay attention, because they want to keep their job. I don't know. But there's like a lot of stuff that's going on. True. But legitimately, Commissioner Davis was a really good commissioner, and he was good at his job, and he should not have lost his job. And I feel like it's because we spoke highly of him. And when I say we, I specifically would say nice stuff about him and point things out about him and how he pays attention. And I'm just, afraid that, I don't know, if we express that we like a commissioner too much, they're going to get axed. Or if they do something to help us out too much, they're going to get axed, which points to Karen Bass, the mayor. The mayor's the one that fires them. Though, in reality, what happens when you get the job, when you're appointed by the mayor for the job, you already sign your resignation. You write your letter, you sign it, and you give it to the mayor. And when the mayor wants to, the mayor gets rid of you and your letter's already signed. These are appointed by the mayor. And one thing that they do, I know a lot of people have different views strongly on either side of this, but they do a lot of diversity. I noticed that they got rid of Commissioner Davis, who's black, and they replaced him. They now have Judge Mitchell, Commissioner Mitchell. She's black. They got rid of Reyes, who's Asian, and now they have King, who is Asian. They got rid of Villegas, who's Latina, and now they have Chavez, who's Latina. They got Grant, he was on the other one, sort of, and Corson was, they sort of blend together. Corson and Grant were with the others as well. Um, let's see. Yeah, so like they're they're appointed, and then the way that they find out who's president or vice president or pro tem is they vote amongst themselves. They nominate, and then the second to the motion or whatever, and then they vote. And they did before they uh gave Corson the presidentship, they did let the public speak. And I remember saying that I wanted Grant or Corson to be president and vice president. And I wish I hadn't spoken so highly of Corson because he gets an attitude with us a lot. Like I said, he has a chance to extend public comment past the 10 minutes, and he chooses not to. And David, just so you know, I do a lot of random streams now where I'm going through past meetings and sort of breaking them down comment by comment for the public works. Um, sort of, sort of spamming the content with that. Like there's going to be like a lot of lives like that. And some of them can be long, but just flipping through them sometimes helps to see what other people have said in the past meetings and what works and what doesn't work. But Lisa, David, thank you guys for stopping by. Um, okay. I don't know anything about that. I do it just because the type of person I am. I don't know if you guys have noticed with how I chat or how I do my streams, but I just I just feel that it's good to raise people up when they're doing good. You have to give them their props. And if you want someone to do something for you, it's good to soften them up a little bit. But at the same time, it's also good to call people out. Um, okay, well, I think I'm gonna end this. Originally, it was gonna be an hour, turned out to be 2 hours. I'll be back later, um, in a little bit with another stream, which will just be going through the meetings. But I'm gonna continue doing this more professional, I guess, type of Sunday stream every Sunday, just to give more updated specific ideas about the meetings coming up and the meetings of the previous week and stuff that's current. Again, check out the other streams as they pop up. I know I'm going to be putting a lot of content out there. Don't feel pressured to watch it all, but just skipping through it, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be out there. Make sure to help me out with the algorithm, like the stream. If you could help me out getting my name out there a bit more, because we need more attention on these meetings, please, you know, tell other chats. Don't necessarily distract and spam about my name, but you know how to do it discreetly and not interrupt the chat. Just put my name out there for people. Let them know that, we got the meeting content on this channel. If they want to know more about meetings, come check me out. I got my Venmo on there. I really would appreciate donations, but at the same time, there's other priorities. DOA, help DOA out with his litigation. Do the gives and go. Last time I checked, I think there was 8,000 out of 15,000. And that case affects everyone, not just him. I personally agree with what he's doing, if I have it correct. I agree with if there's some stuff that he can do to save lawyers' fees, if he knows how to take care of the beginning part of it, representing himself, that's a very financially efficient way to do it. Lawyers charge a lot per hour. Even when you're emailing them, calling them, they charge for that. So if that's what he's doing, I totally support that, because that's using the money that's coming to help him in the most efficient way. Also, there's some merchandise by Grateful Mess, formerly known as Cultology Twins. I actually think I'm gonna get the trucker hat. That looks pretty cool. There's some hoodies on there, some shirts, a bandana, tons of cool stuff. And that helps support DOA. Also, I'm trying to get a computer that would totally make these streams better. I'm waiting on taxes. Have no clue when that's gonna pop up. But if you happen to have, a way to help me out with that, that would be deeply appreciated. But, if you can't do any of that, just like, subscribe if you haven't, turn on the bell notifications, all that jazz. Also, check out Kirby's mom. She did her first live stream. Like, I I know she doesn't want to put her link in and all that stuff, but she's humble with things. But Kirby's, put your link in there so that people can go sub to you. Also, Amy, check out Amy. Check out Audit, Fat Grammy. Make sure you check out Let's Go's weekly update videos. She drops them every Sunday. There's a new one out today. If you need to know what meetings or court dates are coming up this week, Missing in Scientology usually posts a list on Sundays about those. Sometimes it's not on a Sunday. But yeah, the meeting for Public Works is 10 a.m. tomorrow. And unless they were canceled without me knowing, there's also Wednesday and Friday. Tuesday is the police commission. I think that's at 9 a.m. And don't forget, DOA has the court on the 21st. And that shady sounding protest thing, along with the permit that Scientology has, is this upcoming weekend, Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, see y'all later, and call in if you can. If you can't, find another way. Find something else you can do to help out. But the more people that step up and help out, the more we can do, the more progress we can make. Have a good one. See y'all later.